WELDER. So,
WELDER.
we've got a new set location in Morocco. People are guessing that this is likely going to be the Aiel Waste. I tend to agree. There are many locations within this area that I think are potential spots that they'll be shooting, because we have the UNESCO World Heritage city of WELDER, and then there's the actual studio where they've built set locations, and I think that's where they've done Game of Thrones and Gladiator.
And I believe they said something about there being a galley ship from Ben-Hur as well, which is I mean, that's a classic. That's an old movie. So, this is this studio has been around for a minute. I like it. But it was also, the architecture of the other locations that I felt could, be part of filming for season 2. There's that one building that has that very straight and, rigid appearance.
Looking at some of these locations, the UNESCO city that's actually real, not something that was built for TV. I could see that maybe as one of the locations, Cold Rock's Hold, where there's actually people living there. And then some of the other ones, I don't know, some of the sets that were built look something potentially like a meeting place, where they would gather. We could have potential training grounds, which I think that would be good to see. That would be really good to see.
I would love that. The thing I'm hoping for season 2, if they're filming stuff for the Aiel, is that this is going to be Tigraine, the daughter heir's story and transformation from being a noblewoman to Fardaris Mai. I feel as though this would be a really good story to weave through almost all of season 2, really, so that by the time we get to season 3, we understand why Rand has to have this connection to the Aiel, because otherwise it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I think for me, what I'm envisioning is something more an establishing shot for the Aiel, where maybe we have maidens running and doing suicides out in the desert, training, and then possibly some of the clans grouping up together and having a meeting about maybe the prophecies or something that was heard, something that's going on in the wetlands.
Yeah,
so,
is it time to start sending the clans out?
Right.
To see if he who comes with the dawn.
Right. Is the prophecy of the threefold land going to be fulfilled? Is it being fulfilled? Because this is such a harsh climate. They call it the dying ground in the Trolloc tongue.
Right.
So you really get this idea of how brutal and harsh it is, and how this makes them who they are. I think you had mentioned it could possibly be a Ruidian shot with some of these locations that we've seen. Are they going to do the actual Sahara? Are we going to do desert shots? There's so much that I think that they can do with it. And considering how big a fan Rafe Judkins is of Fardaris Mai and the Maidens of the Spear, that love and attention that we've been given to the episode 7 cold open with Tigraine. I think that this is going to be the set location that's the standout of the season. I think it's going to make a lot of people excited, and probably
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I would love to have them pulled in more thoroughly and feel less like a background character.
It helps establish the story, especially to people who haven't read the books and
have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you have no idea, you see the cold open of Tigraine and you're like, why is this pregnant woman such a good fighter? Because fantasy magic, maybe. This harsh climate this is something that has shaped this nation. It's the shaping stone to make them who they are. It's a testing ground to prove their worth. If they can survive here, they can survive anywhere. They are the most battle-hardened warriors. They're the strongest. They're the fastest. They can run for days. And it's also a punishment to live there for something unknown from their history. So there's a lot of mystery surrounding it. And
Yeah.
I just think the Aiel Waste is going to be something awesome to see. Like, will we see peddlers? Will we only have Aiel?
I would love to see like a Cold Rocks hold. I would love to see like the liveliness of the children playing and
The
like
interiors.
so far we haven't really gotten, I feel like we haven't gotten very many interior shots of things. We've been outside quite a bit or
Yeah.
in tents or whatever or in ruins or and when we have in places it hasn't been very long. And so I would
This
really
is true. They like these like wide panning outside scenes.
yeah, and like I'm thinking like is it Breen Springs? I'm thinking how they have that big shot for Matt and Rand
Yeah.
when they're looking out at it. Like that to me feels like a shot that you spread out over what looks like an entirely uninhabitable space
Yeah.
of desert. And that would be amazing. I would love
Yeah.
it.
I don't know what this means for the plot. I don't know if this will be something from like far later on in the books, if this will even be anything from the books. Like maybe this will just be a standalone
Yep.
establishing shot that has nothing to do with a chapter that we've read, which I kind of like that idea as well.
I love it when they do that. I want to be surprised. I want to continue to watch the show and not know what's going to happen exactly in the next episode. I like that.
Is it possible that Rand shows up in the Aiel Waste like way, way earlier than possible?
I don't know. He's got the Stone of Tyr has to fall.
I mean, but we haven't had that prophecy. So
Oh, good point. Good point.
maybe they don't even use that from the prophecy. Like we've seen it in the background.
My whole face just like
It's like, oh. But I mean,
I don't like that idea. I don't like it at all.
No, I mean, I wouldn't like that either, but it's possible. I don't know how likely it is.
The Aiel in particular, almost their entire culture rests on the Karakarn being the one to forgive the sin that has left them in the waste. Like,
Yeah.
so their relationship with him is really important, and it's part of a prophecy. So I can't see them pulling that away from it. It would just, because then what are the Aiel fighting for?
I think that this might be one of the cooler set locations that we've seen. And I do think like it'll be interesting to see if we get this kind of like wink and nod to Americana, because
I hope so. I really do.
the way that they have chose some of the music and the way that they've done some of these shots, like from low angles looking up at the boots, like these are cowboy shots so you can see the guns, you know?
Pew, 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 pew.
Like that Pod and Fane moment where he's exiting the ways. It's just like, it's cool. But I think with Robert Jordan being like a Southern boy, you know,
Yeah.
they could do that. It could be coincidence, and maybe just the director for that episode liked it.
Like when I think Aiel Waste, I think like Arches National Park. And just like it's rugged, but I do think of like small cities built into the walls of canyons that have been found like in the American Southwest, and just how cool that is. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And so you have this entire culture.
It's
that's
almost like this, like I've got like this like Adobe style
yes,
vibe. And
yes, with like ultimate luxury inside.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the part that gets me is they have like the rustic exterior and you come inside and the idea of the fifth for the Aiel is spread out all around you.
Yeah.
I love it. That whole ability to live Like, and it's not that the Aiel are like scraping a living out of living in the desert. They
Hmm.
have lives. All of the
Yeah.
greenery that would be on top of the roofs and everything for like what they're growing for their own food and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, we have historical evidence of people able to do that.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of seeing almost that southwestern tribute to the people that had done that like
Hmm.
far, far in the past. It's just
Yeah.
so
I just think it'll be like one of those moments where people are
it
like, fuck
yes.
yeah.
I mean, and I would love for there, like you've said, like, I would love for there to be training shots. Like,
Yeah.
how do the Aiel become the Aiel?
There are criticisms to the show, but I don't think one of them is like the beauty of the outdoors and the set
Mm-mm.
locations because I feel like that tends to be one where people are like, okay, like that looks kind of cool, but
No, the set locations I have loved. I mean,
mhm.
we've gotten caught up on little spots because we're like, what is that? Is that this thing? Is that that thing? Look at how this is blah 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 blah. Like
Yeah.
that's just us when it comes to things like
Yeah.
that.